Friday night. I'm in a mood. Definitely don't call me to bail you out, dude. I'm just not feeling it. I'm telling you straight. Oh, wait. Is this case great? I think I know this guy. He's back again. This is gonna be good times, my friend. Your Honor, I apologize for how I fled the scene. I just had to get out of the Thunderdome, if you know what I mean. I was in a little pain my first time in the court, but I'm back with my complaint of a very special sort. There's an infestation, Judge. It's truly hard to bear. There's a critter in my trailer and it's living under there. Is it a mole? Is it a rat? He just doesn't know, but it's bigger than a cat. Mike says, is this the guy? The beaver mole guy. He was crazy the first time. Oh my. A beaver infestation is no laughing matter, but this whole dang story just gets madder and madder. The court sent an inspector to check the holes and poop, but he was hired by Mr. Weasel and I'm in a feedback loop. He's my next door neighbor, he's not insured at all. He owns another trailer park, he really has the gall. It's a major conflict of interest, it's totally absurd. He's the burglar investigating himself, take my word. Oh my God, Mike just can't breathe. A landlord inspector hired by Mr. Weasel. You won't believe it's a...
All right, we will go on the record in the matter 25 SC 202, Joseph Gagnon.
Gagnon, that's correct.
Versus Charles Amrine. Appearances are we have Mr. Gagnon appearing in person without counsel. Mr. Amrine appears in person without counsel. We're set today in this matter for...
This is Alyssa's fault. You're going to absolutely hate it.
A de novo hearing. That means that this starts anew, that whatever you stated or provided or proved or disproved in front of the court commissioner is no longer. You must redo it all in front of me. I'm going to have both of you please stand, raise your right hand. You're going to be sworn in.
Do you affirm that the testimony you're about to provide in this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. Yes.
All right, you may be seated. Mr. Gagnon, you do have the burden of proof here. I have reviewed what you are seeking in your summons and complaint. I have also reviewed your answer. You may begin.
Great, thank you, Your Honor. So I guess I would first start by wanting to set some context. I think that this case is really boils down to integrity and accountability. And in terms of what I'm referring to is I rented a storage container. And before we go to Chuck, I always butcher your last name. May I refer to you as Chuck?
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Is that okay with you, Your Honor? Okay, I rented a 20-foot storage container from Chuck. And for the purposes of storing my household goods, while I had an old structure, part of it moved, part of it tore down, to store it for the winter while a new structure was being built. And so what I intend to do today, or hope to accomplish today, is I want to prove that Chuck and Applewood Transport, which is the company he does business as, delivered a container to me that lacked integrity, that it had defects and was poorly maintained. And so that's the first thing I hope to prove today. The second thing I hope to prove today is that Chuck and Applewood are accountable, 100% accountable, for creating an opportunity for mice to enter and exit that container at will and do significant damage to my personal property. Also related to that, I furthermore would like to prove that any expectation or argument put forth that says that rodent control was the responsibility of me, the rentee, I think is illogical, inconsistent with some of his own words, inconsistent with standards in the industry, and it certainly wasn't supported by the terms and conditions with which we did business in a contract. Furthermore, I'd like to prove that Chuck has been, in my observation, sort of unwilling to figure out a way for he and I to not be in the court today, to be in front of you and to have this matter solved with the use of county resources, and basically to not find a way to be able to have a seller and a buyer find an amicable solution to, a pretty reasonable, fact-based outcome that was realized here. And then lastly, I hope to prove that I had real damages, both in terms of the value and for the services that I paid for, receiving that value, as well as to my personal property that was damaged and destroyed and ultimately replaced. So that's my objective and what I hope to prove. I do have a procedural question I'd like to ask the court. I want to call Chuck as a witness from time to time, but
Not from time to time. You get one time to
okay.
be able to, you get one time to be able to question him. He can be on the stand. You can question him all you want. You can call him as an adversary witness, meaning you're calling him for your case in chief.
Yep.
You can do that. And then he'll have the opportunity either at that time to provide information, but he can then switch and present his case in chief to the court, and you can question him after that too. But it's not going to be a question back and forth, argue to the court, question back and forth, argue to the court.
And so I need to direct all of my message to the court in one
I think if he was younger, they'd say that this guy's on the spectrum.
setting, and all my messaging or comments to Chuck in a separate setting.
Well, you're not giving him any messages or comments. You're only going to be able to ask him questions.
I understand.
Yes.
And so if I have testimony that I want to provide to you and direct towards you, and then follow that with a set of questions to Chuck, and then another set of messages for you and a set of questions for Chuck.
No. What you get to do right
Yes,
now
please.
is you can provide me with
Yeah.
your facts and your evidence that you have,
Okay.
and you can do that first through you,
Yep.
or you can call Chuck first and ask him all the questions you want to ask him, and then he'll go back to his chair, and then you can provide me with the information. But you get to tell me what you want me to know, what you intend to prove,
Yes.
and give me the proof
Yes.
in one fell
Swoop.
yeah.
Is that not? Sorry, I didn't mean
That's
to.
okay. So yes, so if you want to go first and tell me all of your
You,
side of the story right
Yeah.
now, or you want to call him.
you've answered my question. Thank you for that clarity. I will proceed with telling you my side of the story, followed by calling Chuck to the stand.
That sounds great.
Okay, thank you for the clarity on that. One other procedural questions. I have visuals
It's painful.
that
It's
I
so
want to
painful.
present to you in the court. How do I do that? Do I hand
I've got
deliver them to?
visuals.
They have to be marked as exhibits.
I got
Okay.
some
And
visuals
so
for you right
if
here.
you have a bunch, I'd highly recommend you get them just all up here and marked all right now. And then when you need me to see them, we can go back and forth. I am going to tell you, you only have 1 hour though.
Yep.
Are these the same 10 exhibits that got filed already?
Do you have any additional exhibits that you used in front of Commissioner? Do you have any more than what you used in front of Commissioner?
I do have one more that I want to put up, but and these are all numbered, so I was going to reference them for your help and my help.
Are they numbered the same that they were
No,
with
they were
Commissioner?
not numbered
Okay,
before.
all right. So
And will they be displayed?
they will not. What you can do we have the exhibit list? Did you do one of those things?
I did.
Because if we do that, it'll just save some time. If you go off of what she's going to print you, your exhibit list, and then you can renumber them to what this says, because then we only need to mark the one additional one that you have. Because I have access to all of them, and then you can just go which one it is, exhibit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I can pull all of those up. All right, because we had 10 exhibits at the last time, and now there's going to be one extra.
For you, there's a copy for you.
Okay, thank you.
Now, because I have the electronic, I have all of the documents that you use as exhibits in front of Commissioner, I have electronic access to them, so I don't necessarily need a copy, but if you have a copy for me, that's great. But Mr. Amrine is going to need a copy when you go over your exhibit.
Your Honor,
Yes.
I believe I have most of the copies that he's presented, but they're not marked as 1, 2, 3. So I don't know that. But when he initially filed the paperwork for this lawsuit, I have a copy.
See, so a challenge I have is I have changed these names don't mean as much to me. So I guess I'll pull those.
I told you it was gonna be bad.
Again, with the new case, I created new deliverables.
And I do appreciate that, but this way we can just save some time and save some filing, not that it uses up all of our cloud or whatever we have with our electronic files, but theoretically it should save time.
Yeah, I don't even have a copy of what I put in last time because I've replaced
You
it.
don't.
Oh, so you don't have pictures?
I do, but not in with these titles on them or.
Do you want to give me a pile and I will mark them so that you know which ones are what on the exhibit list?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
'Cause I can see what's what on the electronic file.
Why don't we adjourn for a brief couple of minutes? You can go over there and look at all the things. I am going to run in the back for just one moment and I'll be right back. All right.
And find all the alcohol I can and consume it as quickly as possible, and then come back out here to endure the rest of this nonsense.
Excellent. That was quick. Back on the record, same appearances as previously noted. Again, the clerk went in super speed and was able to get another copy. Okay. You may continue, Mr. Gagnon.
Okay, so we made one copy, but these don't have the exhibit numbers on them.
I only need exhibit numbers on one. That would be the one that is going to ultimately come to the court. The others don't. I can write on it, and so can Mr. Amrine.
I got it. Okay.
Thank you.
Let me do two things. One, I'll jump right back in, but before I do, I thank you all for your patience and getting us what we need to have this discussion. I thank the court, and Chuck, thank you for your patience. So I want to start with Exhibit 20. That's this one, Chuck. Yeah. Your Honor, what this shows, this is the container that was rented. It's roughly 20 feet long, 8 feet high, 8 feet wide. Notable point here is this is a data reference. There's two large doors on the one end as shown, approximately 4 feet wide each. Next exhibit I want to show is Exhibit 11. It's D10 on the copy you have.
Got it.
Your Honor, I want to tell you how this picture was taken, first and foremost. This was taken from inside the container. You have to, the containers have 4 large Cremone bolts on them to secure those doors, push them tight to the face, close the gaskets that seal the door, and once inside, it's should be pitch black. The container is, completely built out of steel on all 6 sides, with the one end having 2 steel doors with rubber gaskets that seal that door. The picture in Exhibit 11 show 2 photos taken from inside the container and with the doors fully locked. One with the flash and one without a flash. And what this represents is the clear indication from my point of view that there is gaps in the bottom of the door. The gaskets on the bottom of the door are not sealing to the face of the container. And I would also further add, if you look at these 2 pieces of metal here, call them the stiles of the door, they're between 4 and 6 inches wide. And so the reason that these photos are put one on top of each other, they're basically lined up. This is in with a flash, the one below is out the flash. If you see the little curvature to the gasket, that's right there. So what I'm showing you is the size of the large hole that's roughly the same size of the stile on the left-hand side of the colored picture. And so a rough estimate is that hole is an inch wide and 3 to 5 inches, or inch high, 3 to 5 inches wide. This is the container that Chuck delivered to my property after having committed to me that he inspected and checked his units to ensure that they were weather tight and weather resistant. Yet after going inside and inspecting myself, it took me about 1 minute for my eyes to adjust from the daylight to the dark to realize that the bottom of this structure did not seal and created a material access point for mice to enter in and exit at will. I want to ask you to then look at...
You know how you could fix this, don't you?
Exhibit number 6.
Oh, yeah.
It's this one.
I'm going to tell you, I don't know what you're asking, if you're asking him to identify something, or if you're just saying.
I'm trying to help him.
Okay.
That's all.
Just state it on the record so that I can hear you too, and we need everything that's stated here, even if you're just trying to help him out, on the record.
Here.
Okay?
Message heard, Your Honor. Okay.
I don't have that one.
Which one is it? Number 4?
Number 6.
That was the pre-filed
Oh.
exhibit 6.
Oh, I have it as D12, I think.
Yeah, she didn't make copies of this one because it was already there. Chuck, it's in the packet that I submitted with the summons.
It doesn't say the defective door seals part 2.
It does.
That's what I have as D12.
This is the pack, this is a copy of the original packet from the first lawsuit.
I have just what I was just given right now.
Right. Okay.
So, go ahead.
Okay, and so on this visual showing the defective door seals part 2, I also wanted to point out, I made reference to the large gap in the middle of the door near the door stiles. I also wanted to draw your attention, Your Honor, to the right and left of that large hole. You're seeing a gap on each side. So the doors, like I said, it's 2 doors, 4 feet wide. There is gaps virtually below the entire length of each door. Although, you know, we don't have a photograph that shows the 8 feet, I estimate that there was between 3 to 6 feet of gap when the doors were closed in their locked positions. And I'd point out, Your Honor, that mice need 1/4 to 3/8 of an inch to get through a gap to get in. And so I spent the time describing these photos, telling you what I wanted to communicate here, telling you how I captured them, and estimating the size of those to, you know, fully communicate that I believe that the container that Chuck delivered to my property had defective door seals that were not well maintained, and that is the source of the entry and exit to the mice that did damage to the structure, or to my household goods. I also wanted to then draw attention to Exhibit 18, which shows the bottom of the door, and also Exhibit 17. These are pictures of the seals on the door. I would like to point out that there are portions of
The judge feigns interest by nodding occasionally. It's so fun.
the gaskets that are missing, gone, not there. You can actually see the screws in the bottom of the metal structure as opposed to the gasket. I would also point out that if you look at this picture on 17, you can see the gaskets are dried out, brittle, cracking. And again, I'm trying to show the evidence that conveys the message that I believe that the issue that we're facing here, which was a mice infesting this container and living in it for the winter and doing havoc on my household goods, was caused by these defective door gaskets. I'd also like to point out that
It was basically the Thunderdome, Judge.
Upon renting this container from Chuck, I had asked him, you know, what he does to ensure the integrity of the container. And he told me they go through an inspection. He looks for any holes, any gaps, any issues, any points of intrusion for water and other elements, and assured me that the unit had been inspected and delivered it as such. The other data point I would offer at this junction is with that gap, the subject mice were able to enter and exit the container. So they appeared to have come in, you know, throughout a long period of time, and there's no indicator that they weren't getting in and out. Once I discovered I had mice, I baited the container with mice poison, and I'd come back a few days later and make an observation, and the poison was getting eaten, but there was no dead mice inside the container, which was a clear indicator that they were coming in and then exiting. And I believe the source of that entry and exit is these door gaskets. Next, I'd like to move to discussions about, you know, accountability as it relates to who's responsible to ensure that the container gaskets,
Oh, we're all waiting for your discussion of accountability.
are up to snuff. And what I would offer is, Chuck and I had kind of a period of, I'll call it 3 phases. We had the first phase from September of 24 to July of
Phases of Chuck.
25. And that's when I rented the container, Chuck delivered the container, I filled the container with my household goods. I went south for the winter, came back, and that I call that sort of the uninformed phase. Neither of us knew there was an issue. All was well. I opened the container for the first time in late June and literally had mice run over my feet coming out the door. Right after the week of the 4th in July of 2020. September of 2025, I call it the period of where we lacked clarity. Neither Chuck or I knew how the mice made their way into the container. And we had a lot of dialogue on what might have, how that might have come to be. But then on that was July to roughly September 20th. On September 20th, about that time, I entered the container with the help of someone else. I needed help to lock me in, and from September 20th to today, I believe there's ample evidence to suggest we know how the mice got in and out. And so we went from a period of lacking clarity to great clarity. And so during that period of time, there was a lot of communication back and forth between Chuck and I. And I wanted to make reference to specifically to an email that Chuck sent me on 9/18.
Does this involve any settlement negotiations?
No.
Okay, then you may continue.
Okay. And again, this is in the period I made reference to the uninformed, the discovery phase, what's happening here to we now have clarity. We're in this middle phase between July and September 20th. And I got an email from Chuck and I'll read it as follows. Joe, thanks for the info. I'll use that for in the future for my customers. This is in reference to some information around insurance. I did a little talking with my suppliers and others on how to handle the situation. Number one, everyone was incredulous. Number two, one of my wholesaler has been doing business for 15 years and does hundreds of times the volume that I do, said they've never had a mice situation. So I would just offer that, Chuck in his own communication to me communicated the level of experience with containers that are tightly sealed, that mice just simply do not penetrate them if they're properly maintained. And again, I'm communicating, this is an email from Chuck. And he went on to say, some people who have done some detective work and summarize suggested that perhaps the mice were in the household goods when they were put in there. Another hypothesis put forth was maybe when we were loading the containers, the mice jumped into the container. And again, clearly this is speculation. We're in this phase of not really knowing. However, I did communicate with Chuck that both of those ideas were not logical, because if they were in there, they would have had to, and they couldn't get out, they would have had to live there all winter with no food and water, and yet they were literally visible, doing damage, ran over my feet when I opened the door. But the point of sharing that email, this is communication from the defendant here, validating, promoting the fact that these containers just are, I wouldn't say it's impossible for mice to penetrate, but when they're properly maintained and properly, then the doors properly seal, they're nearly impenetrable for mice. And I would just, ask, I'll make one other reference just as a data point. AI Google, just as a point of reference, if you ask it.
You're not going to know AI.
Okay.
It's prohibited in my courtroom.
Okay.
So you can say what you know, but not what AI told you.
Okay. Well, what I know is that shipping containers are generally
Reading from the AI. Well, the AI did.
I'm glad to. Yeah. Shipping containers are generally rodent-free when they're properly maintained. If it just as Chuck and all of his colleagues in the 1,000 cases he cited, with multiple cases not having any mice incidents, that is accomplished with proper maintenance to the door, seals, putting appropriate screens over air vents, and just basically the integrity of the unit. Okay, moving on. Now I'd like to talk a bit about the accountability that I believe this case is about. I made reference to, with the pictures I showed you, that finding the hole with which the mice were entering and exiting the container, and I'm really on to an accountability point. In full transparency, I didn't know, Chuck didn't know, much of the exchanges we had over the July, August, September month is, speculation, but this is where the accountability part really kind of falls down for me. In terms of, I felt that on the 20th of September, we had great clarity. I sent Chuck an email dated September 21st, and in that email, I shared with Chuck some of the same pictures that we're looking at today. I shared with him that, we had been through the process starting in October. We had, gone through the exploratory work in July, talking about it. Chuck actually had come to my place in August, early August, late July, took a look at the damage to the contents of the container. I made reference to, his prior emails talking about his fellow colleagues and thousands of examples where, there was not mouse intrusion in containers. And then I shared with him again that I was feeling like the value proposition with which I rented from him, didn't get realized, and had asked him to, consider some sort of a refund or some sort of, monetary,
He has feelings regarding the value proposition. Oh yeah, that's what he wants us to believe.
Compensation, work in good faith with me. And again, with the pictures and the evidence set forth, and I articulated with great clarity of the natures of the loss of the material I had in there, the couches, a couple of multiple packing blankets, an AC unit. I also shared with them I had a lot of hard surface furniture that was full of, mice droppings and nests, et cetera. And I told them, look, I hope that stuff cleans up. And in the process of that email, I said, look, I'd like to, now we kind of know, I would like to see if we can't figure this out, amicably and have a discussion. So on the 23rd of September.
I'm just going to stop you right now. If you're going to tell me about what type of settlement negotiations you had with Mr. Amrine, you can't do that. It's not allowed.
Can you?
In those cases, it's not allowed.
Can you clarify?
If you're going to talk to me or you're going to tell me what your settlement negotiations were or settlement talks were with Mr. Amrine, like, well, if you pay for this, and then I'll agree to do this. Okay. All right.
I merely asked him to engage in that discussion.
Okay.
No details on that discussion. At that point, Chuck hung up on me.
Okay.
Okay. And so,
Go, Chuck.
I will make reference not to the details of the settlement terms we discussed.
Great.
I have asked Chuck at least 5 times to work with me in good faith to resolve this issue. I did it the first time.
And again, you can't even get into what you're getting into now. You can just say, I tried to resolve it with him. It didn't work. And then that's all you can say.
Okay, I'll say this. I tried at least 5 times. And it's documented in the email string in my summons. I would also, and you tell me, please, Honor, if I get, I'm sure you'll get me back on track if I go off. One interesting point that as part of that process, Chuck did suggest we go to court and sue.
Okay.
And
It's right to say that you can do.
it is. I had hoped it wouldn't come to that. But here we are. And oh, by the way, the timing of those statements were before we had clarity on what had gone down and what the point of exit and entry for the mice was. And so I had chalked it up to that. I thought that once we had achieved clarity on how this intrusion happened, we'd find a way to get to done and work through an amicable resolution. I also want to point out that Chuck has in the letter that he sent to the courts on the 29th of November. His answer. In that letter, he suggested that the rodent control was the responsibility of the rentor. Of me. That is the first time that statement had been made. Prior to those occasions, there was reference to this is something you should take up with your insurance company. Was part of the dialogue in the July to September timeframe. The second part of the dialogue was, we've got 1,000 containers, all my colleagues, there's no mouse intrusion. Maybe they came in, maybe they were already in there. Okay. Then there was, I'll call the last phase, which is, no, we know, here's evidence. And now the conversation pivoted to, well, rodent control is your responsibility. And I would just offer to the court that, clearly there isn't no responsibility for either party. We both are in a relationship together. We both are responsible for having that business relationship work. But it's my assertion that the perimeter of the container and having that perimeter be sound and structured in such a way, delivered in such a way that it's doing its part in blocking and controlling rodents. That's on Chuck, and in my opinion, and that is what I think is obvious by the evidence I presented, that I don't own the door gaskets. I don't manage the maintenance of and the integrity of those door gaskets. And to suggest in his answer that rodent control is the responsibility of me is I think, incorrect. I'd further offer that in the contract that we both signed and did business under, the first paragraph says that he will deliver a watertight, let me rephrase, I'm gonna quote it, Your Honor, so I get it right.
I'm going to tell you, we're going to have to set this for another date and time because we only have limited amount of time left. 4:11, court closes at 4:30 because I have to let my staff go.
Okay. What would you like me to do? You want me to?
This guy's time at Toastmasters has definitely come through for him, though. He is absolutely riveting.
Well, you can keep going until 4:30 and then I'll stop. I'm just letting you know that if you have the ability to speed it up, I would. But I don't know if we're going to be able to get through it because then I have to go to Mr. Amrine for his side of the case. And we haven't even got to any questions and answers or that you wanted to question, Mr. Amrine.
Correct.
Mr. Amrine?
My presentation would only be 10 minutes.
Okay. So if you want to, if
That
you can
helps you.
speed it up, but he wants to question you and do some things too. So we're probably going to need to come back, but you can keep going until
Chuck's got his side of the story squared away.
we reach that point.
Okay. The terms of the contract that I had that we had stated that the container would be weather and would be in a weather and watertight condition. I would suggest that based on the pictures I've shown you, Your Honor, with the door seals not being weather tight and water resistance was a violation of the contract. Now, in our case, we didn't have blowing rain or snow or weather penetrate the unit, and I didn't have oriental rugs rolled up against the door that got damaged. In our case, we had mice that used that same lack of weather tight point to enter and do damage to my household goods. I'd like to now move to proving I had real damages and provide some.
Let's move on to the damage phase. We've achieved unit penetration. Now let's move on to damages. I can't take it. I can't.
Clarity on the monetary value I'm seeking. And so I would doesn't have an exhibit number. Well, I'll just speak to it. I'm seeking the amount of $5,505.10. And that is comprised of.
Okay, I'll pay that to you right now out of my back pocket just for you to shut up. The $1,452 that I paid Chuck in rental fees for the period of time I had the container. It also is inclusive of 2 leather couches, and that is in Exhibit 3 in the exhibit list that showed the damage to the couches. What actually happened is the mice made their way in, chewed through the upholstery, nested inside, pulled out a bunch of the stuffing, and you can see that in Exhibit 3. So I'm asking the court to recognize that's real damage caused by the mice. On Exhibit 2 is examples of the similar chewing and destroying of a set of packing blankets with which I had the hard furniture packed in. And unfortunately, I do not have a picture of the AC unit. I will describe to you, it was a window air conditioned unit, and they literally had made that a home, and the entire thing was packed full of I'd call it a little mice house. We literally, gloved up, masked up, and took it and threw it in a dumpster. And so back on what I'm seeking for
compensation here, the claim of money. It's inclusive of the $14.52 in rental fees that I paid. It's inclusive of, 2 couches. I've listed in Exhibit 9 a sample of similar couches, picked a price point middle of the road, multiplied it by 2 for an additional $35.79.60. I did a similar thing with the AC unit, found a like unit, included it in Exhibit 10, and add quantity 1 of those, did the same for the packing blankets, quantity 4 of those, included court filing fees, the service by mail fees, and the docket fee totaling the $5,505.
Oh, good Lord. That's not the appropriate measure of damages. I'm not going to get into it. It's too boring. And costs are costs. They're not damages.
$10. And with that, I would conclude my messaging to you, Your Honor, in terms of the defense of trying to prove that, the integrity of this container is really the source of the exit and entry point for the mice. The mice did do real damage. Although I spent a time and a lot of effort trying to convince Chuck to take accountability for his role in the damages that I received, I was unsuccessful in doing that. I think that I've presented a number of perspectives in terms of what the industry, even through Chuck's own emails to me, delivers relative to, rodent resistant containers, which I did not get in my case. Hopefully I've conveyed that I do have real damages, both in terms of the value I received as a renter.
I've got good news and bad news for you people. The bad news is we don't get a ruling. The good news is the judge was actually serious about her time limit.
To protect my household goods and B, to the damage to real property.
Okay. Now, that's okay. Do you have anything else that you want to tell me at this time, or are you asking now to call Mr. Amrine?
I think in the sake of timing, I'm ready to call Mr. Amrine.
Okay. Mr. Amrine, you've been sworn under oath. You can come up.
For the sake of timing, the fact that you don't know what else to do, which, by the way, there is anything else to do. But let's see this. Let's get ready to rumble here. Go, Chuck.
We're here. Or no, you can just sit there. You don't even have to come up here. But now, Mr. Gagnon, you are to only ask him questions. You're not to comment back and forth. Simply asking him questions, and then you respond to his questions, okay? You may begin.
Thank you. Chuck, you do business as in rent storage units, correct?
Yes.
And how many containers do you currently own and rent out?
17.
Okay. And do you own them?
Yes.
Okay. And do you source them from the wholesaler you made reference to?
Say again?
Do you source them from the wholesaler you made reference to?
What do you mean source? Do I buy them from?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
And if you're going to ask questions back and forth, you have to, only one can speak at a time because my court reporter needs to take everything down. You speak into the microphone.
Chuck, yes.
I've heard enough. Judgment in favor of Chuck.
In your contract, Chuck, you state that the containers are weather and watertight. Can you tell me what that means?
Well, I'm going to tell you that that's a legal term for the court to determine what that means.
Okay.
It's watertight or weatherproof. That's a legal term.
Well, the term in the contract, I believe, is weather and watertight. So that's what's in.
Get it, but it's not, it's a legal term. So it's something that I can, the court,
Okay.
tell you what it means.
Okay. All right, I'll ask it this way. Chuck,
No, that doesn't mean ask it another way. It means move on.
when renters come and rent from you, what can they expect in terms of protection for their goods they put in the container?
I'm going to tell you, this is based upon a contract. I'm very good at analyzing contracts.
Okay.
Very good at it. So it's based upon a contract and what the plain words and the plain definition of those words in a contract mean. It's not what his intent was or your intent was.
I understand.
What it means.
I got it. I understand. Okay, so Chuck, I'm going to move from that topic, Your Honor. Thank you for pushing us off into a better direction. And Chuck, as I understand it, you've told me, you told me when I called before I rented the unit from you that you do inspections on the container before you rent them out, correct?
Yes.
Can you describe what you inspect for and what that inspection entails?
Well, one thing is, such as you can see in your container, not all of them that I own, but I power wash them and then I paint them this flat brown on the outside for your photo. And then on the inside, I paint them white. And as I do that, I inspect the welding seams in the doors. And basically, it's pretty straightforward like that.
But you don't repaint them with every rental, or do you?
Not with every rental. Yours, you can
I'm
see.
going to say, why is that relevant and why does it matter? I'm reviewing a contract to determine if your damage is something that is covered under the contract that you entered into with Mr. Amrine. Okay? Whether or not he paints it yesterday or tomorrow or every time somebody rents it is irrelevant. Irrelevant.
Okay.
Good job, Judge. You went 45 minutes before you lost it, which is admirable. It's admirable. It really is.
What inspection do you do before a unit goes out for rental?
It's a steel box. I walk around it. I load it onto my truck. I open the doors. I close the doors. I look at the seals.
Okay. And in the case,
and in this case, by your admission that you can't see that hole from the outside, you have to go inside and lock it. In other words, it's a major effort to see that from the outside. And obviously, I did not see that.
Okay. And do you recall telling me before I rented from you that you do inspect these containers before you rent them out?
Yes.
Okay. And in the case of my specific container, it's SC206 was the number on it. Did you inspect the door seals?
Yes.
And did you go inside and close the door? I think you said no.
No.
Okay.
No.
Did you use a flashlight to, look on the seals? You run your hands on the seals to see if they're closing tight to the door?
Yeah. I inspect the seals to see that there's sealing, and even on this photo, it looks good to me from the outside.
Well, I actually see something different for what it's worth, but
Okay, stop! You can't do
like,
this.
no comments, right?
Okay, no comments. Ask a question. And we're getting off topic here. This is a really easy case. I need a contract. I need to be able to review that contract and analyze that contract. I need to know what that contract required of Mr. Amrine to provide you. I need to know what you're alleging is your damages. I think I got that all, but I will allow you a little bit more because we have 4 minutes.
Okay, and you do have the contract
Well,
in the
you're going to
summons?
offer it because I'm telling you, you need to offer it for me to make a decision. Otherwise, you both lose.
I'm sorry, it was in the
Yes.
summons. I thought you had it.
Yes, but it still has to be offered as an exhibit. Anything you put in the summons and complaint, that's well, great and wonderful, but that doesn't come in as evidence. Evidence is what you mark as an exhibit, you offer to the court, and the court receives.
He does not understand anything she just said. Not even close. It's not complicated, but he does not get it.
I'd like to offer to the court the contract.
Well, I think you kind of want to offer all of the exhibits that you've talked about so far, probably, right? Because otherwise I don't receive them as evidence.
Okay. Yes, I agree.
Okay, and do you have which one he's done? Because I don't think he does.
I don't think I have it down either.
All right, so I need to know, you need to identify, I'm offering exhibit 1, I'm offering exhibit 2. I have the contract. I'm going to come get that marked as another exhibit. I'm offering that as well. That's what I need you to do.
Okay. And I'm going to do that right now. So I'm offering as an exhibit the 3-page contract with which we did this.
All right.
Chuck doesn't know how to object. So just offer exhibits 1 through 20 into evidence and see what happens. If he objects, then you got to do more, which you won't know what that is, but that's okay. That's where you start.
Right, it's going to be marked as an exhibit. Is that,
What's the highest number exhibit
Yes,
that we're
what's
on?
the-
I don't have that.
what's your number of exhibits?
Is 20 the highest?
We were already at 20 with the...
That's what I'm saying. Is 21 the next one? Because it's been a while, so I don't remember where we left off.
Well, don't you have the list of exhibits just like this, ma'am?
I gave you the list of things you'd already filed, not the list of things you brought today.
Okay. The last one I recall is, I'm looking, there's 4, 5. I do not see anything that goes beyond 20.
Okay. Here's the contract. It's marked as exhibit 21.
Okay, I'd like to offer as an exhibit the packet of information that refers to the claim for money.
All right, do you object to any of these offerings of the exhibits?
No.
Well, that one's received if he's only offered the contract.
These are not what you were talking about. These are nothing that I've marked so far. Do you want them marked? These are all things that are already in your file.
Well, again, sorry, Your Honor, I'm really struggling, right? Because
we
she
know.
tells me it's in the summon, and then you tell me you don't have it.
Well, it is, but you still, then you take it and you go, yep, I need to offer this, or you,
And I just did that, and so I'm trying to figure out procedurally what.
No, you really didn't. But having said that, the judge elicited for you that the other side doesn't object to any of it. So just offer every effing marked exhibit into evidence. Say that word, say that phrase, and you're done.
What's breaking down? What are you asking me?
So what you're giving me here is something.
And people continue to ask me if I want to be a judge. No, I don't want to be an effing judge.
New. This isn't what you already have. So I want to make sure that you want me to mark this as a new exhibit. Because this isn't what you gave me in the beginning.
I agree.
Okay, so yes, this is a new exhibit.
It is. What I've heard from Your Honor is that if I don't do that, that won't be used in consideration as she evaluates the case.
Correct.
Regardless of the fact that it was delivered to the court prior in the summons is irrelevant.
Correct.
Am I understanding that correctly?
Correct.
So, I'm sorry, what was your name?
Danielle.
Danielle, yes, I'm offering that as a new exhibit.
Okay. No, he's got the contract.
And so we have.
By the way, this wouldn't be any better with attorneys because an attorney would know how to offer the exhibits into evidence, but the opposing attorney would have objections for all of the friggin' exhibits. So then you'd be having legal fights on 20 different points, all of which are stupid.
I've already offered that as a new exhibit, yes? The contract?
I've received the contract.
Yes. So there's exhibit 22.
Your Honor, I'd like to offer as an exhibit the timeline and sequence of events that took place at the beginning of the contract today.
Okay. And what is it marked as?
It's not.
It's not? You need to mark it? You're offering that as an exhibit? I'm confused. What are you doing?
I'm offering the written timeline of events.
You need to mark it as an exhibit.
Mm-hmm. It will need to return to judge though before you leave. Everything you give us has to come back to me. All right. There's exhibit 23.
Danielle, can you say that again?
Everything that you have offered, I have to take with me when you leave today. So I need a copy of every exhibit is what I'm saying. It has to go in the file.
Everyone that's been marked with her stamp, I need back before you leave.
Okay. Got it.
And you want to say get an attorney, but an attorney would cost more than the amount in controversy. That's why we are where we are. But he is all set for the next ugly sweater competition.
I'd like to offer to the court a copy of the email that I made reference to for September 18th email where Chuck was referring to the thousands of examples of renters who had not had any mouse issues.
Has that been marked?
No.
Come get it marked.
You see there's a theme here. You got to mark your exhibits and then offer them into evidence. See how that works?
Okay, that's exhibit 24.
I appreciate that you didn't know that coming in, but by now, have you figured it out? The answer is no.
Okay, Your Honor, that concludes everything that I'd like to deliver to the court.
All right. Do you have any more questions for Mr. Amrine?
Yes.
Okay. Court is receiving all of the exhibits that you've offered.
He's got
May
more
continue.
questions.
Well, I don't know. It's 4:35. I'm going to guess by the way it's going here that it's going to be at least another 20 minutes, at least with you. And then it's going to go to Mr. Amrine to be able to present his case. And I know you said it was only 10 minutes. I'm going to say I love that you're able to guess it's 10 minutes. In my experience, in known cases, it's going to be more like 20. And so we're looking here at another 40 minutes or 45 minutes in this matter. So we do have to reschedule this. So let's get this rescheduled. And then you can start on questioning Mr. Amrine again when we are here. Ooh, the joy is, though, that my calendar is full until April 17th, 9 a.m.
He pulls out his phone, looking at his calendar, as if he's got something going on. He goes to his schedule. It's just clear.
All right, you'll get printed notices, so you'll be able to have those. I do need...
As usual, it reminds me of the Grinch. Dinner with myself. I can't miss that again.
Need all of the stamped exhibits before we leave. So if anyone has stamped exhibits, whether or not they were received by the court, I need them. All right, so here's what's going to happen. You're going to make sure that we have all of these stamped exhibits. They're all turned in to Danielle. And then when we come back, we're going to start with Mr. Gagnon, continuing to question you, Mr. Amrine, and he'll get another opportunity to give a little bit more to the court, and then it'll be turned over to you for your argument, for your presentation of the case. Okay?
Okay.
There you have it. Good times. Good times. An early stream that goes nowhere and doesn't have a ruling. On the upside, we can look forward to the gripping finale. If I remember, on April 17th, I believe we'll have the continuation of this awesome case. Thank you all for coming out. I appreciate it. I'll see you soon.